Hal Jordan has long been one of DC's most iconic Green Lanterns, known for his immense willpower and fearless heroism. But in the early 1990s, DC Comics took Hal on a darker journey in the storyline known as Emerald Twilight, where his world and his identity as a hero unraveled. In a shocking turn of events, Hal transformed from Green Lantern into the villain Parallax. But his journey didn't end there. Later, in Final Night, he found redemption in one of DC's most unforgettable acts of heroism. In today's video, we'll dive into the events of Emerald Twilight, explore Hal Jordan's tragic fall from grace, and follow his ultimate path to redemption. Let's get started. Hal Jordan's tragic journey in Emerald Twilight begins with an unspeakable tragedy. This story actually starts in Superman #80 during the reign of the Superman storyline. In this issue, we see the villainous cyborg Superman, Hank Henshaw, team up with Mongul, one of Superman's most powerful enemies, with a plan that would bring unimaginable destruction to Earth. Their target is Coast City, Hal Jordan's hometown, the place he grew up in, filled with memories, friends, and loved ones. Cyborg Superman and Mongul intend to make Coast City the foundation for Mongul's new Engine City, a base for his empire on Earth. To make this happen, they unleash a massive bomb that wipes out the entire city in seconds, leaving only a crater where Coast City once stood. 7 million people, including Hal's family and friends, perish in an instant. When Hal returns to Coast City, he's met with nothing but death and destruction. This heartbreaking scene would become the turning point for Hal, driving him to the very edge. Green Lantern Hal Jordan kneels in the crater that was once Coast City, devastated by the combined efforts of Mongul and the cyborg Superman. Unable to cope with his loss, he decides to use his power ring to bring back everything. He shoots a beam into the sky, enveloping the crater in green energy. As the mist clears, he encounters the ghost of his father, Martin, who criticizes him for failing to save Coast City. Hal, haunted by memories, recreates Coast City and finds his childhood sweetheart, Jennifer. They reminisce about their past, but when she kisses him, she disappears. As Hal prepares to hear his father's pride, the ring's power wanes, and the construct fades away. Frustrated, he cries out in despair. A guardian appears, chastising him for violating core laws. Hal argues, but, consumed by his grief, destroys the guardian's image and absorbs its energy, heading to Oa with no intention of compliance. As Hal Jordan, the Green Lantern of Earth, makes his way to Oa, the Guardians of the Universe dispatch several Green Lanterns to stop him. First, Kahan and Lara confront him, but are quickly defeated, leaving their rings behind. Hal's path continues as he overpowers Tomar-2, who creates an unbreakable parasite construct, but Hal cuts free and blasts him into an asteroid. Jack T. Chance attempts to ambush Hal but is knocked out, and Hal steals both Tomar-2's and Jack's rings. Next, General Kreon, Hanu, and Graf Torin challenge Hal, but they too fall and lose their rings. Hal then faces Boudica, whose resolve leads to a fierce battle. Ultimately, Hal severes her hand, claiming her ring before arriving on Oa to confront Kilowog. Although they are friends, Kilowog must protect the core. In a hard-fought battle, Hal, empowered by the rings he has taken, overpowers Kilowog. As Hal approaches the central power battery, the Guardians make a final attempt to halt his rampage by sending Sinestro, now wielding a Green Lantern ring again, believing their feud will end here. They agree to a fair fight, removing extra rings. Their battle culminates in a massive explosion that depletes their energies, leading to intense hand-to-hand combat. In a shocking moment, Hal takes Sinestro's life. As he approaches the battery, Hal discovers that Kilowog has survived. To secure his victory, Hal also eliminates Kilowog, and overwhelmed with guilt, he discards his ring and ascends to the battery. The Guardians try to reason with Hal, but he feels there's no redemption. In a last-ditch effort, they channel their power into Ganthet as the battery explodes. Hal emerges in a new costume, empowered but tormented. Before leaving, he destroys the last remaining ring. Among the fallen Guardians, Ganthet rises, mourning his brothers. He uses the energy to create a new Green Lantern ring from the remnants and teleports away, ready to forge a new path for the Green Lantern Corps. In Final Night, Hal Jordan finds a chance at redemption in Earth's darkest hour. The Earth faces a cosmic threat called the Sun Eater, a powerful entity that extinguishes the sun, plunging the world into darkness. Earth's greatest heroes, including the Justice League, fight desperately to stop it but fail. Kyle Rayner seeks out Hal, pleading for him to help reignite the sun. Hal, still an outcast among heroes, feels his past efforts were unappreciated, especially after Zero Hour, but Kyle's plea makes him reconsider. Hal takes a look at the dying sun, knowing only he has the power to restore it, but it will require a sacrifice he cannot return from. Visiting friends like Guy Gardner, John Stewart, Carol Ferris, and the last remnant of Ganthet, he reflects on his past and seeks a semblance of peace. When he arrives among the heroes, there's tension. Batman reminds everyone that he's still the man who once tried to control the universe. Hal acknowledges their doubts, but assures them he can reignite the sun, though it will be his final act. At the sun, Hal rescues a young hero, Pharaoh, sending him back to Earth as he prepares for his last stand. Reciting his Green Lantern oath, he draws upon every ounce of his power. In brightest day and blackest night, no evil shall escape my sight. Let those who worship evil's might beware my power. With that, Hal channels his remaining energy, enduring the Sun Eater's consuming force until a brilliant light erupts, reigniting the sun. The darkness lifts, and Earth is saved. Hal's sacrifice leaves a lasting impact on the heroes who once saw him as a pariah. In honor of his ultimate heroism, the hero community gathers for Hal's funeral, erecting a statue in his memory. This act completes his journey from hero to villain and back to hero, solidifying his legacy. Through his sacrifice, Hal Jordan reclaims his place among legends, showing that beneath it all, he was always the Green Lantern who would give everything to save others. Hal Jordan's death in Final Night left a huge impact on the DC universe, but it wasn't the end of his story. Years later, in Green Lantern Rebirth, we learn that Hal's fall to villainy wasn't solely his doing. He had been possessed by an ancient being known as Parallax, a manifestation of fear that had corrupted his mind and amplified his grief. This revelation restored Hal's status as a hero, but he has to fight off the fear. Hal, alongside the Spectre, managed to separate the entity from Hal's soul, but because of his death, and Spectre being the only reason he hasn't passed on his spirit, begins to leave, but Ganthet gives him the last of his power, and Hal was resurrected to once again become a Green Lantern. Alongside Kyle, John, and Guy, they fight off Sinestro and Parallax, saving the world once again. Even Batman, in his own way, showed his appreciation for the former hero. Emerald Twilight and Final Night remain two of the most important storylines in DC's Green Lantern comics. Hal's journey from hero to villain, and finally back to hero, is one of the most powerful redemption arcs in comics. It's a story that explores the depths of grief, the dangers of unchecked power, and the enduring hope of redemption. Hal's story reminds us that even the mightiest heroes can fall, but they can also rise again.